a lot of the underlying emotions that we feel, a lot of the underlying feelings that kind of surface, they're all subconscious. So if you've spent a good amount of time stressing, if you've spent a good amount of time reacting, negatively, if you've spent a good amount of time being guilty, feeling sad, remorseful, regret, hate, anger, if you've rehearsed this over and over again, even though you've done it unintentionally, meaning that you didn't meaningfully do it, you just did it because that's how the mechanisms of the mind works, and you start to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. You start to create these feedback loops over and over again, and then these feedback loops, you go from rehearsing and learning this information, then you go to reinforcing that information, and these neural networks start to now strengthen, and this information becomes a neural network, and that neural network becomes a program. And that program is automatic, and it starts to play back from your subconscious, because your subconscious is a recording device. What you rehearse and what you repeat over and over again, you start to then receive. So if you are practicing being angry unintentionally, and you're practicing being sad and regretful and guilty and depressed, and you're doing it over and over again, remember, the body doesn't have any logic. It just knows what you're rehearsing and what you're visualizing and what you're kind of processing on a moment to moment basis. So you're doing that for a good amount of time, and it becomes a habit, and that habit becomes a personality trait, and then it becomes subconscious. And I'm going to put it to you like this so you understand this beautifully. Imagine driving a car, okay? Or you know what? Imagine yourself picking up an instrument for the first time. You want to learn to play the guitar. You want to learn to play the piano. You want to learn to play the saxophone. The first time you do it, what's happening? It's a new experience. So all these nerve cells are acquired, and neurogenesis is working at its best, and it's birthing all these nerve cells, and it's creating a neural network to represent the information that you're learning. The experience called learning how to play an instrument. It's a program that over and over again, you keep on practicing. What happens to those networks? They start to strengthen. They start to strengthen, and they start to reinforce the information until it becomes automatic. And one day you're going to pick up that instrument. Let's just say it's a saxophone or a guitar. You're going to play it, and you're going to play it so beautifully because there's all this memory in the background of you rehearsing over and over again that's being played back. And yeah, you're not even consciously aware of it. You're just being governed by a program that you've rehearsed to the degree that it's automatic. It's no different to driving a car. When you jump in the car, are you thinking of driving? No, it's an automatic program. Just like when you're cooking, just like when you go to remember your phone number or your PIN number, you don't remember it, but you just kind of do it, right? Because there's automatic programs that you've rehearsed. That mechanism, it's very easy and very simple to understand when we apply it to driving a car, learning an instrument, learning, cooking your favorite food. It's very easy to understand. But what we really need to be mindful of is that, does it apply when you're being negative? Does it apply when you're being angry? Does it apply when you're rehearsing sadness? What do you think? Absolutely it does. Imagine you're being sad, something really terribly happens to you, some sort of trauma. That is the experience. You start to acquire the neural networks, and then you start to reinforce that internal chemistry because you keep talking about it, you keep provoking it, it keeps haunting you, you rehearse it over and over again, and you start to feel it over and over again, and that acquires all these different networks, and that becomes a program. And now you don't have to be sad anymore because you are sad. It's a program. It's there. You've become great at it. You're amazing at being sad. This is what you've done. You've mastered sadness. It's no different to when you go to work and you're like really good at your job. Boom, 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 boom. You're killing it. You've mastered your job. But now you've mastered sadness. You've mastered anxiety. You've mastered stress. This abnormal state has become the normal state because you are lacking the model of how things work through the mind-body connection. But once you have that model, you can start to deconstruct it and start to take your control back and say, right, this is how it works. I've got the power now, and I'm going to deconstruct that. Awareness and consciousness is the most powerful and the most creative level of change. Now, I'll tell you why. We'll get to that. But first, we need to understand this mechanism. Now, it's no different. And let's now bring it back to this beautiful physiological response called the flight or fight response that evolution has equipped us with so we can survive. Our ancestors, they're running through the jungle. They hear a big roar. Oh, shit, fight or flight. They're going to flight. Danger, to protect themselves of not getting eaten by a big lion with this hungry, mouth full of just absolute terror chasing after you. You're going to run for your life because your hypothalamus has alerted, which is a part of the brain, has alerted danger, and you've released all these chemicals through your sympathetic nervous system to give you the adrenaline to run, all that energy, right? Because that's what you got to do now. The only thing that is important right now is to survive. Now, let's just say you survive the danger and you go back into grazing. Parasympathetic nervous system is activated, which is your break to relax, right? Now, next time you're walking through the jungle, you don't remotely even have to come close to a lion. As soon as you hear anything within that frequency, within that pattern of danger, what are you going to think? The mind is going to identify, it's going to associate, and it's going to respond with terror, with fear to keep you alive. It's a defense mechanism. It's no different if you're eating in a restaurant, you eat something bad, you get so sick. Oh my God, that prawn was so sick. You get salmonella, you get some sort of poisoning, and you're in bed for 3 days. 2 years later, you go to a restaurant, someone brings out a prawn dish. What are you going to think? You identify, it goes back to that memory of you being sick. You get all these feelings of, oh my God, I don't like it, I don't want it. Defense mechanism to protect you, and you respond by saying, no thanks. This is a mechanism that we are equipped with. We identify, we associate, we respond. It's no different if you were brought up in a house and your mother had this beautiful cologne on. Each time she used to go out, she used to wear this beautiful cologne, and you used to smell that cologne and be like, oh, mum's happy and mum's about to go out and have a good time. Fast forward 20 years later, you're walking down the street and you walk past a lady that's got that same cologne. What's going to happen? You're going to identify, you're going to associate to all the memories of your mum with that cologne. It's all going to come up, and you're going to respond with a really nice feeling that reminds you of your mother. It's no different if you are being chased by a dog and that dog catches up to you and bites you, and you're traumatized with that bite. You run home and you have to go to the hospital and get stitches. Fast forward 10 years into the future, you see that same breed of dog come into a social interaction. What's going to happen? You're going to identify, you're going to associate with the memory of trauma and the memory of, being bitten and going through that stressful experience. And you're going to respond by saying, run. I don't want to be near that dog. That's why people have phobias. They're scared of dogs. They're scared because it is a defense mechanism trying to protect themselves. It's no different if you've been abused as a child. It's no different if you've been mentally abused, physically abused. Anything that reminds you of that, you're going to identify, associate, respond. That's how the subconscious mind works. Okay. It is great. It is very needed. It is beneficial to protect us, but it's also outdated in many ways. It's outdated in many ways because one moment in your life shouldn't dictate the rest of your life. 5 minutes experiencing bad love with someone, whatever, example, right? For example, let me put it this way. When you go through a relationship and you experience heartbreak, now that memory of heartbreak is going to be associated with that person, a male or a female. And then when you go out and someone else tries to come into your life and they are reminding you of the same patterns that other significant other did to you when you're with them, what's going to happen? The body's going to protect itself and it's going to push that person away and say no. And that's why a lot of people, once they've gone through heartache, it's very difficult for them to bring people in. Do you guys get what I'm trying to